The Blue Water Navy Vietnam Veterans Act affects the VA loan limits for 2020. Why should you care? Well, I'm going to tell you. Welcome back. Karin Carr here with Keller Williams Coastal Area Partners in the beautiful Savannah, Georgia. And if you are interested in all things real estate in Savannah, you really should hit that subscribe button because I put out new videos every single Monday just like this. In most counties throughout the United States, when you buy a home using your VA entitlement, there are loan limits, and they are different depending on the county where you live. In most counties in Georgia, they were $484,000 and change. In other more high-cost areas such as Chicago and New York and Los Angeles, the loan limits were higher simply because the house costs a lot more there. Now, you could always borrow money from the VA to buy one of these houses, but if it cost more than $484,000 or whatever the loan limit was for the county where you live, you would have to come up with a down payment for the difference. Now, in June of 2019, Congress passed a bill that said we're getting rid of the loan limits, so they don't apply anymore. So in theory, you could buy a $700,000 house with zero money down. However, is that practical? Do you want a $5,000 mortgage payment? I mean, most people are not going to buy that expensive of a house with zero down because A, they probably can't qualify for it, and B, your mortgage payment would be so ridiculously expensive that you couldn't do anything else except live in your house. So for us here in Georgia, it really doesn't make any difference to us, except that they are slightly raising the interest rate on the funding fee. The VA Home Loan Program does not use taxpayer money to fund it. So somebody has to fund this program somehow. The way they do that is by charging a funding fee to the borrower. As a result of getting rid of these conforming loan limits, they are going to slightly raise the rates that they charge on the funding fee. However, the Act promises to decrease those fees by 2022. So yes, for the next couple of years, it will be slightly higher, but I'm talking slightly, like the difference between 3.3 and 3.5. It's not an enormous difference. So how does this apply to you? If you are military, whether you are active duty or retired, or you were in and you just got out after a few years, as long as you meet the minimum eligibility requirements, you may be entitled to buy a home with zero money down using your VA entitlement. The zero down means zero down payment. You are financing 100% of the cost of the house. However, you still do have closing costs, which people often forget about. Closing costs are essentially prorated property taxes, prepaid homeowners insurance, and fees that the mortgage company charges for loaning you the money for the next 30 years to buy this house. So there are closing costs involved. In our market here in Savannah, it is very, very common to ask the seller to pay at least half of those closing costs. So you can absolutely write an offer on a house, ask the seller to kick in for your closing costs, and be able to buy a house with very, very little money out of pocket. And still have a very reasonable mortgage payment at the end of the day. In fact, I was just talking to somebody that works at Hunter Army Airfield, and he said that he is renting a house for $1,500 a month in Richmond Hill, and we both know that he could buy a house and have a mortgage payment for probably far less than $1,500 a month. So if you've thought about buying, but didn't think that you were going to be able to do it, and you decided to rent instead, I'm here to tell you that renting is more expensive. If you want to find out if you're able to buy a house with your zero down payment VA eligibility, which, let's face it, you are entitled to. You have served your country, and this is a reward that you get. You are able to buy a house with zero down payment. Why not find out if that's feasible for you? If it's not, no big deal. At least you now know, and you can wait another couple of years if you think that's better for you. Here's how I look at it in a nutshell. When you rent a house, you put down your security deposit. You make your payments every single month to the landlord. When you move out, you get your security deposit back, hopefully the whole thing if you've taken good care of the house. Now, if you've left dog hair everywhere, they may keep some of your security deposit. Not that that's ever happened to me personally, but even if you get your whole security deposit back, they are giving you your money back It was yours in the first place. It's not money that you made, they just refunded it to you. Now, if you buy a house, you buy your house with zero money down. You make your mortgage payments every single month, the same or less that you were paying in rent, I might add. Only it's being taken off the cost of the house. Let's say you bought the house for $100,000, you're making your mortgage payment every single month. The price of the house is going down, right? Because we're paying down the principal balance. It started at 100, and now after a few years, maybe it's down to 95,000. So now you only know 95,000, but what if property values have gone up and now the house is worth 120,000? When you go to sell the house, you've made money. You now only owe 95,000 on it, and you sell it for 120. You have made a profit compared to renting, where you did nothing except give somebody else the money for the 2 or 3 years that you lived in that house. And you have nothing to show for it when you move out. You get to do it all over again. You don't get wealthy by renting forever and ever, folks. You get wealthy by investing in real estate in a smart way so that your money can start making money for you while doing nothing except just living in your house, which you're going to be doing even if you were renting. I'm going to put up on the screen right now this little chart that shows you the difference in renting for 5 years versus owning for 5 years. Look how much money you spend in rent. And at the end of the 5 years, when you move out, you have absolutely nothing to show for it. Wouldn't you rather take that same amount of money or less and put it toward a mortgage payment, where at the end, you now have a profit. You now have money that you have made simply for living in your house. So if you would like to find out if it makes more sense for you to consider buying than renting, click this link down below and we would love to have a conversation with you. There's no obligation whatsoever. We're not going to pressure you to buy something if it's not the right time. But we would love to be able to show you if it makes more sense for you to buy versus rent, how exactly you could do that and what kind of money would be needed up front. It's really far, far, far less than you probably think. If you found this helpful, do me a favor, give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel, because we do talk about all things real estate in the Savannah area every single Monday. See you on the next one.